Let me just make sure the email's open. Yep.
And we are live.
Same crew as yesterday.
The regulars.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, Natasha.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi,
Hi,
Cynthia.
hi, hi. Like Nick said, this is like deja vu, right, Joe and Jerry? Groundhog Day.
Good seeing you again, or at least your name.
Good to see you too.
Or Starfish.
I said hi.
Hello. Okay, I have 6 now, so I am going to start the webinar.
Ooh,
The attendees start to populate as well.
this is new.
What's that?
A window popped up letting you know that this meeting's being recorded. By continuing to be in the webinar, you're consenting to be recorded.
That's interesting. I haven't seen that, although I'm one starting the recording, so I might not.
Maria's having issues that keeps knocking her out. She's gonna try to sign back in. I never seen that pop up on my screen before. That must be a new update with who is Barry Diamond?
Bernstein. He's from, he's one of the people that was invited through DCP, I believe.
Oh,
From
okay.
city planning.
Yep,
Hi,
thank
man.
you.
Thank you. Alex got
Amy's
in.
here now.
Yeah, Amy's here. Alex is here.
Sander, who's the second presenter,
Let me see attendees.
filling up.
All right.
But I don't have my chairperson yet, so we have to wait, folks.
Yep. Oh,
Wow, I'm impressed with the closed captioning. That's impressive.
Thank you. We paid for that. It's important, very important to our board. Zoom, actually, we also have the option for translating. We have to hire the translators, but the system works beautifully.
yes, it does. Jeremy, Maria's having troubles. Her internet went. She's gonna try to reboot her modem and try to join us.
Likely we won't see her. A
Mhm.
likely story. I wonder how she faked that.
We were just talking about that. That's why it's important to have more than one of us on.
Yeah, was she listening in?
No, she's trying to do. It could be the heat too. That happens.
We have John now.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you, John.
John.
I'm going to use my iPad and then wait till my computer boots up and then I'll transfer over.
Gotcha. Maria's having some trouble too, but we could handle things. Just me and Natasha. I'll make you a co-host now. John, when you're ready to, or just when you're ready to start, Natasha's going to call roll tonight.
Okay, great. How many people do we have so far?
Including attendees, we have 20, including board members and both DCP representatives and our second presenter.
Well, you don't need a quorum for a committee meeting, do we? Is there?
We don't.
No.
No.
No, I just,
We
I
don't
only
have
seen
that many board members yet, though. You may want to wait a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the 20 includes
Everybody who's in the meeting right now, including me and Natasha.
well, you guys both count as extra people. So
We count as people, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We like when that's acknowledged.
well, let's just wait 1-2 more minutes.
Yeah.
And while that's happening, I can wait till my computer comes up.
Sounds good.
Gives more time for the board members and land use committee members to join.
Hey guys, this is Pat. I may be logging off as once I get back home and logging on from my laptop. So if you see me disappear, like I will be back. But for now, I'm
Okay.
on by phone.
Understood, Pat. We
Thank
got
you. Thank you.
You aren't going to go into an alternate reality? Disappear?
I gotta go to the store and get something so I can make dinner.
Keep the phone on while you're shopping, and we'll ask you to get some stuff for
I
us.
believe, John, I believe that's called actual reality.
Maybe then I will need ideas for what to make for dinner. We'll shout some ideas to her.
There we go.
No. I'm hungry. I'm not putting up dinner till after the meeting. Let's not discuss this.
I am officially muting and darkening my video. I'll see you in a little bit. Bye.
Bye. I had to do a presentation to CB16 last night.
Oh,
And I was the last person on the agenda
Ooh.
after 3 hours. 3 hours.
Oh, what time was that?
So
What time did you start?
They start at 7, and they said that was an early time for them.
goodbye. You put nicely at least.
Yes. No, it was Janice Morgan, the chair, right? The chair.
I know the
yes.
district managers.
Yeah. So she, yes. So she did treat us nicely. 3 hours.
Wow.
And honestly, if I just turned off my video, it would sound exactly like our meetings.
Oh, I think I would have been in tears by that time, knowing you have to give a presentation now. Like, oh no.
John, we seem to be holding steady at about 21.
All right. So why don't we get started then? Without further ado, thank you all for joining tonight's Land Use and Landmarks Committee meeting. I'm John Fontillis, chair of the committee. Several land use committee members I see are on the screen as well. Thank you for joining, and as well as all the other board members who are absolutely welcome to participate, ask questions. We don't have anything. I don't believe this is for a vote. Is it is the hotel special permit a vote required from the committee tonight? I guess it is, right?
It's a text amendment, just like CFA was, so it's totally optional. But yeah, if you would like to vote, you can definitely vote.
I think we'll have to vote mainly then to put that recommendation to the full board rather than dragging you, Amy, for another 3-hour meeting next month. So maybe it'd be good to do that at the end of this meeting. And then we also have a second item on the agenda, a developer or activist. I'm not sure what we're calling Sander today. Sander, if you're there, welcome. You're going to describe, Sander, yes. You will describe a project that you're looking to do on 51st Street. But we will do that if you don't mind hanging out for a bit. We'll have this presentation from DCP on the hotel the special hotel text amendment, and then we'll get to you in a few minutes. Great. So I guess, thanks, Senator. I guess I'll turn it over to you, Amy. And if you can give your, I'm sorry, Natasha.
Roll.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we'll do the roll first.
Okay.
Natasha, I'm going to mute everybody. Board members, when Natasha calls your name, please unmute yourself. Acknowledge your name and then mute yourself again. Natasha, when I mute everybody, it's going to mute you as well.
Okay.
Go for it.
Cesar Zuniga. John Fontillis. John, please unmute yourself. Yep.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Alexa Aviles. Nicholas Azadian.
Present.
Thank you. Joan Body.
Yeah.
Thank you. Denny Chen. Denny Chen. Cynthia Gonzalez. Kenny Guan. Zachary JC, Christina Lem, Jimmy Lee, Arelis Martinez, Antoinette Martinez, Paul Mack, Marilyn Melman, Daniel Murphy, Katie Walsh, Fred Wolf. I acknowledge Pat Ruiz, Cynthia Felix, and mark them as present.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we'll also do another roll later on, Natasha, just in case you pick up anybody else along the way. All right. Actually, it's very strange. I was going to say, can you hear me? But I just see my words just show up automatically on the screen. Amazing what this automated captions can do. Anyway, all right, Amy, all yours. Can you start, please?
Great. I think maybe it's Natasha. Can you give me the ability to share my screen?
I got you, Amy.
Oh, thank you.
You should be able to do it now.
Yep. Thank you. Here's my presentation. Great. Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I am Amy Jin. I'm a planner in the Brooklyn office at DCP. I'm joined tonight by my colleagues at DCP. So we have Barry Dinnerstein from our Housing Economic Development Division, and Alex Plakis, also from Housing and Economic Development Division. And then we also have, Anthony Grande from the Brooklyn office. All right, so we're here to present to you the Citywide Hotel Special Permit. Okay, so let me move this, sorry. So this project is a zoning text amendment that would create a new special permit for hotel developments across the city. The goal is to create a consistent framework for hotel development and ensure that new hotels don't negatively affect the surrounding area. We'll start by looking at the city's hotel market in the last 10 years. By 2019, New York had experienced record growth in the tourism industry and its hotel pipeline for the 10th consecutive year. Visitor trends peaked in 2019 with almost 67 million visitors, up from 46 million in 2009. Visitor count was forecasted to increase even more in 2020 to almost 69 million. This was obviously before the pandemic started. Additionally, sizable growth of hotel room supply has been a prevailing factor in New York City for much of the past decade. Between 2009 and 2019, the total number of hotel rooms in New York City market grew from around 80,000 to 128,000. Despite this increase in hotel room supply, the demand also continued to rise, keeping the annual occupancy at almost 87%. Occupancy rates in New York City are among the highest for urban markets in the United States. The growth of the New York City market of the last decade was driven by both international and domestic travelers. These visitors are coming to New York City for its cultural offerings, with shopping and sightseeing being a primary reason for 86% of the international visitors. So over the years, rapid growth of new hotels across different districts in the city has led to concerns about conflicts and surrounding uses. Notably, in 2018, a special permit was adopted for hotels in M1 districts to address conflicts between hotels and operations of industrial businesses. To address these concerns, the City Planning Commission has adopted a variety of special permits relating to hotel development in different special districts, which has resulted in an inconsistent framework for regulating hotels. Additionally, in C and MX districts, hotels have introduced conflicts with surrounding uses. Overnight accommodations differ from other as-of-right uses nearby because they're both similar to commercial and residential uses, but also have the potential to conflict with both. This may require additional scrutiny to ensure that they're developed in ways that won't present conflicts with the neighborhood and local businesses. A robust tourism economy is vital to our city's economic health, and the tourism economy is expected to recover from the pandemic. Once the recovery happens, hotel development is expected to resume. The patterns of hotel development over the last 15 years still indicate a need to ensure that hotel development does not create conflicts with surrounding uses. Thus, the proposed text amendment will create a consistent zoning framework for new hotels and allows the CPC to evaluate each hotel development's impact on the future use and development of the surrounding area. So as we just talked about, hotels have the potential to create land use conflicts in a variety of neighborhood contexts and zoning districts. We're already aware of the potential conflicts hotels can have in light manufacturing or M1 districts. And here are some other examples. So several C districts in the city has hotels in areas where it can be in conflict with nearby businesses, such as cemeteries or manufacturing uses, or the site may be planned in a way that may be unsafe for guests and residents. The hotel in the C8 district on the top left here is located across the street from a cemetery and is surrounded by heavy commercial uses. The hotel in the C6-2 district, which is the bottom left, is an example where the hotel is set back from the street, creating a less than ideal pedestrian environment. The hotel in the bottom right, located in the Rockaways, is a hotel where better site planning may have led to a wider sidewalk. The current sidewalk leading to the beach is thin and may push pedestrians into the street, causing safety concerns for guests and residents alike. Similarly, the hotel in the top right, the C4-3A district, forces vehicles to drive over the sidewalk through a large curb cut, which may present conflicts with pedestrians. So the new special permit will be applicable in higher density commercial districts, mixed use districts, and paired M1R districts where there is not a special permit today. The new special permit will apply to those areas that already have a special permit. And the M1 districts will retain the findings from the M1 hotel special permit, since those findings addressed unique concerns in light industrial areas. So this is an applicability map for CD7. The areas shaded in gray are the M1 areas that already have the hotel special permit. And all the areas in red are commercial districts where the new hotel special permit would apply. We can come back to this if anyone wants to see it in further detail. So similar to M1, we will not require a special permit for hotels that are for public purpose, such as temporary housing for the homeless. This means that rules for siting of homeless facilities will not change and will continue to be permitted as of right in districts where they are currently allowed. While we understand the issues around this, the proposal is intended to address the land use concerns related to commercial hotels and is neutral with current policies regarding homelessness. New York City's hotels provide an important amenity for all New Yorkers, and for this reason have long been permitted with limited regulations in districts with varied land use contexts in much of the city. Hotels serve a diverse set of customers in all 5 boroughs, from international tourists in Midtown, airline workers in Jamaica, clients of film studios in Astoria and Long Island City, visitors coming for the city's medical institutions, and relatives visiting with friends or family living in any of New York City's neighborhoods. While it's important that hotels can continue to locate throughout the city to support a vibrant tourism economy and meet the diverse needs of its residents and businesses, the pace and patterns of development driven by record high visitation has created conflicts with adjacent uses and overwhelmed some communities. For example, the images shown here are of the front and back of a hotel located in the South Bronx. It's in an M15 district near Yankee Stadium and is an appropriate location for a hotel. But access to the hotel is on a busy access road on the major Deegan, and an entrance that presents potential safety issues for pedestrians and guests in the hotel. The parking and back of house services at the rear of the hotel are located on a quiet residential block. Review of the way the use is configured on the site would likely have resulted in a development that is more sensitive to the surrounding context and less likely to create conflict of safety issues for guests and the adjacent uses. It's also important to note here that the proposed special permit does not preclude hotel development, nor does it deem all future hotels inappropriate. It requires the CPC to assess the appropriateness of such developments based on the future use and development of the surrounding area. So let's talk briefly about recent impacts of the pandemic on the hotel industry and ways that we have modified the proposal to try to address these challenges. The COVID pandemic has had a significant impact on the New York City hotel market. Between January and November 2020, a net total of 146 hotels out of 705 have closed, and that's about 42,000 rooms. Luxury and upscale room types accounted for almost 40, wow, I can't read numbers, has accounted for almost 85% of this loss. 96.3% of hotel closures occurred in Manhattan. As of September, its share of New York City hotel rooms fell to 65%, down from 81% in January. Estimates by the city's independent budget office place job losses in the hospitality and leisure industry at about 197,000 jobs in 2020. COVID has had an impact on the hotel industry, but there is optimism that the city will recover and visitors will return, with many experts placing this recovery at 2025. With that return in demand, the Department of City Planning anticipates development to return to pre-pandemic levels, leading to a need for the special permit allowing for better regulation. However, we do not want these regulations to prevent recovery of the city. So because of the significant impacts that the pandemic is having on the hotel industry, we've created several provisions to minimize the likelihood that the special permit will impair the recovery of the hotel industry. These include modified vesting to allow projects in the DOB pipeline to advance. Aging projects filed with DOB prior to 2018 need to obtain a foundation permit prior to adoption. Projects filed between January 1st, 2018 and the referral of this text amendment need to obtain a zoning plan approval from DOB prior to adoption. Both categories of vested projects have 6 years instead of the standard 2 from date of adoption to complete construction. Approved CPC or BSA applications will not require a special permit if these applications were approved after January 1st, 2018. Applications that begin CPC public review or are filed with BSA prior to adoption will not require a special permit either. Finally, there is an extended discontinuation provision allowing vacant hotels extra time to return to transient use. Usual discontinuance allows a building that has been vacant for 2 years to reopen with its previous use. We're proposing to extend this to 6 years to allow for closed hotels to reopen. These provisions are meant to allow for a portion of the 42,000 closed rooms to return, bringing back an important industry to New York City. A draft environmental impact statement and market study were done to understand the projected loss in rooms. To understand what the projected loss in rooms would mean for the hotel and tourism industries. Findings of the study and the DEIS show that we expect sufficient inventory by 2030 to support an amount of pre-pandemic visitors, which is a robust tourism economy. However, because of the special permit being expected to slow the growth of new hotels, it's expected that there would not be enough rooms to meet demand of the no action in 2035, leading to a shortfall of 47,000 rooms. Because of the future shortfall of rooms and potential effects on visitation, the DEIS is showing a significant adverse effect on the hotel and tourism industries. However, we expect that as visitation recovers, the concerns that have been raised with respect to hotel development over the last 15 years will once again rise, focusing attention on the subject of this proposal, the regulation of how and where hotels are built. So these are the findings of the special permit. I'm not going to read through all of it because it's fairly technical, but I can leave this up. But this wraps up my presentation. I am happy to take any questions. I will be able to send this presentation to the community board and they can share it with the members.
Thank you, Amy. I guess if I just may, if anyone has a question, if you can just raise your hand or notify us in the Q&A, I think that's the best way to do it. If you all don't mind, I'll take a privilege as chair to ask the first question. Amy, as you know, the board has had issues with hotels in our manufacturing districts. And looking at the map, it looks like the impact of this special permit is relatively light, unless hotels are going to be looking at Fifth Avenue to build in a very busy commercial area. But in the idea about reading the room, if you had to explain why this special permit is best for CB7, I'd like to really kind of understand how you all at DCP see this, given all the issues and the troubles that we've had previously regarding hotels that frankly have seemed to fall on deaf ears, not you specifically, but a variety of different agencies, whether or not they're Housing and Homeless Services or DCP, a series of agencies we've reached out to countless times. And every time we've asked about hotels, we've gotten, frankly, the runaround. So and I don't mean to pick on you, but I really would like you to, frankly, give me a reason why this is good for CB7.
Yeah, thank you for your question. It's a really good one, and I'm not sure I can do it justice, so I'm going to pass it on to Barry to respond.
Oh, Amy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Amy. We were asked by the mayor's office to prepare a special permit. There was a lot of community concerns about hotels across the city, and there was a feeling that hotels should be more strictly regulated. And this should not be seen as being anti-hotel. It really just provides certain regulations for sort of more scrutiny for hotels. And so that's the reason for doing it. What I will say is that from the standpoint of Community Board 7, you will, were you to see an application, you would have more chance to sort of look at the hotel and scrutinize it and ask questions about the hotel, which, in the areas today, such as on Fifth Avenue, you don't get that today. So you would have it in the future were the special permit to be adopted. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
It does. I mean, it sounds like more this is the idea about incorporating more of an ability for us to weigh in. And
that would be correct, yes.
But is it an issue about findings? Is it an issue of, I mean, how does it actually work? You have the slide up on the screen about the review, but it sounds more like it's at the CPC level. I mean, how does the community board wishes and thoughts and comments, how does that enter into the process?
Well, the application, it's a ULURP application, so it would come before the community board. A requirement of a special permit is that they provide a site plan. So you'd have a sense of what the building looked like. You would have time to ask questions of the developers of the project in terms of why they were going to this location and how they were going to accommodate visitors, how people were going to get there. Was there going to be parking issues? Were there going to be buses on the street? How they were going to make sure that they not interfere with the neighbors. And if, obviously if the community board was satisfied, it would vote to support it. And if the community board said that it didn't really seem to make sense, you wouldn't support it. Or you could say, the plan should be modified. In some ways, it should be not as close to a residential block or whatever, however, you saw at the time. So,
albeit that, Barry, it is a recommendation rather than a force of a discretionary review, right? I mean, it's still the board making a recommendation as per Euler.
that is absolutely
Borough President.
Absolutely true. But, clearly the City Planning Commission is going to look at whatever you're recommending. And if you have a well thought out, careful recommendation, they're certainly going to take it seriously. And I think it's fair to say that the City Council and the, City Council member, whoever they may be in the future from who represents Board 7, presumably is going to look at your recommendation. And again, if it appears to be a rational, well thought out series of recommendations, they're going to take it seriously. So, I know there is, concern that they don't always go exactly the way the community board wants, but the fact that you're making a recommendation, gives you some level of influence that presently you don't have at all. So,
John, may I ask a question for clarification?
Sure.
However, that review would not occur if it for a hotel proposed for Fifth Avenue, if it was proposed as a homeless shelter. Are we correct?
Well, two things. If someone, I'm sort of, there's like a technical issue here, which I'm a little, I want to be clear about is that if a facility is transient, meaning that people move within 30 days, and it's principally designed as a facility for the homeless, it would not be subject to the special permit, and it may come before the community board as sort of a notification, but it would not go through Euler. That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there, apologize, any board member questions?
John, do you see the hands?
I guess it would be better if I actually had the participant list up.
Yes.
I have my hands up.
Yep.
All right, Joan, go for it.
Thanks, John. You asked a lot of questions that I was thinking of asking and comments that you made. I would like to see the map again, please.
Sure. Let me see. There we go.
Okay, could you tell me where these areas are in red exactly?
Sure. Okay, so give me 1 second. So it's on this red area. Can you see my cursor?
Yes,
Okay.
and also, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is a C district, and so it would be all of the C district here. Let me just.
That's Fifth Avenue. Fifth Avenue.
Where? That's Fifth Avenue?
Uh-huh.
Is that the one that Jeremy was just questioning?
Yes, he asked about Fifth Avenue.
That was merely an example, though, Joan.
Okay.
And then there are
down to Fort Hamilton Parkway. Where is these red marks?
Okay,
What are these avenues and what are these streets?
Sure. So along 4th Avenue here.
No, Fort Hamilton Parkway, I'm asking.
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. Let me just pull up a map so that I can give you exact streets.
All the way east. And south.
Yeah, I want to be able to give you like from where to where. Sorry.
Are they in District 7?
Actually, I believe, Joe, the black line, the heavy black line that hugs Greenwood Cemetery on its east side and south side, that is actually our district boundary.
And Joan, that would actually be, I'll save Amy the time. That's along Coney Island Avenue between Caton and the Circle.
Are you talking about, sorry, so you're talking about this?
No.
Whoa, sorry.
No, along Coney Island, right there. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is along Coney Island Avenue and Fort Hamilton Parkway. These are all,
Caton
so
is actually the school.
yeah, so like this,
If that's the school, why are you intending on putting?
so I think the confusion here is that maybe the zoning that was pulled for this is a little bit outdated. It used to be a C8 2 district, I believe. C6, no.
I think it still is, and that's the reason why that's a problem. That corner, they're all. I mean, it's an automobile. That whole zone there is a former automobile use centric zone.
So this entire length is C82 currently. That property, so 312 Coney Island Avenue, which was a project that went through ULURP, it is now R8A. And so the corner of the circle is no longer applicable, but the rest of Coney Island Avenue that's zoned C82 is.
All right, thank you.
But Amy, if you could just briefly, in the CB7 district, Community Board 7 district, can you just point out with your cursor?
Yep.
Just name the areas. So we've got a bit of Fifth Avenue, north or south of 15th Street, correct? That's a C district.
So some of these areas are like C overlays, but within a certain number of feet of a highway.
So it's 1,000 feet, 1,000 feet of a highway ramp.
Oh, okay.
But a couple things there is so Fifth Avenue is zoned C4. So you have a lot of development rights to do a hotel. So you could produce a fairly significant building if your site was big enough. The overlay districts, which are sort of shown in sort of more sort of spots, dots.
So these ones here?
Yeah. Those, the amount of commercial development rights are smaller. So a hotel is still very possible there, but the types of hotels you would get would be much smaller than what you potentially could get on Fifth Avenue, because there's more development rights there, more commercial development rights.
But the area on Fifth Avenue, the Prospect Expressway, you're saying is it's more because of 1,000-foot distance from the highway? That enables those sites to go into
correct.
Permit?
If that from an exit or entrance ramp to the highway, yeah.
That's pretty arcane and obscure. How did that slip in? And then along Fourth Avenue.
I could give you the history, but I would bore you.
Well, now for zoning nerds like me. Then along Fourth Avenue, again, I just want to point this out for the people on the call. Along Fourth Avenue, it looks like there's some area north of the Prospect Expressway and a couple blocks south on the east side of Fourth Avenue. There's an area of a couple of blocks, I guess that's 39th Street or 36th Street.
Yes.
Along Fourth Avenue. And then further at the southern end of the district, it looks like it's, what is that, 55th down to 65th?
So here it starts at 40th and goes down, let's see, 2 blocks. So like 42nd. And then further down, ooh, I have to count now.
Well, I mean, just generally, those are, the area there that we just talked about on 4th Avenue, 40th, that's the now Chipotle, that's the bank, the TD Bank. There are several sort of commercial uses that have parking lots adjacent to it that might be an assemblage that a hotel might might look at. And then at the far end, I guess that's another 1,000 feet from a highway entrance. Is that the reason why those at 4th Avenue show up?
I believe
Yes.
so, yes.
Yeah.
And then that stretch of 5th Avenue is an overlay district right in the heart of the commercial area of Sunset Park.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Apologize. I just wanted to get that out there so everyone had their bearings. Any other board members? And then as soon as board members, I'll go back to attendees. Any other questions? Nick, Pat, Jimmy, Bev? All your questions are answered?
I'm still trying to figure out my question. I may come back. This is Pat. Bye.
All right. So then let me go to attendees then. And so I'll just do it on the order that I have here. Mr. Santor, John Santor. Oh, I guess sorry, I apologize.
No, I have to unmute him, but I guess he has an older version of Zoom, so I couldn't. So we have to promote him to panelist. Not sure if he is now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. And just a quick question, and maybe this might be the wrong place to ask it. I'm just curious because it seems like a presumption of this special permit is very strong continued hotel growth. It seemed like what Ms. Jin was talking about was a strong market that's going to rebound from the pandemic and continue to grow. And I'm just wondering if there was any consideration for within this special permit of if not discouraging hotels, then trying to in some way incentivize hotel developers to also contribute to housing. I mean, it seems like just those numbers alone that were cited earlier in the presentation of 42,000 closed rooms. I'm not sure if that meant permanently closed or temporarily closed, but that's a remarkably large number considering how many people don't have housing in the city. And so I guess it's just a general policy question. Again, if it's not a question that DCP can answer, I understand. But was there any discussion about whether or not there's a larger structural problem here with such continued growth of hotels when we have such housing needs that they could possibly be filled at these same sites?
Well, the expectation is, as a result of the special permit, is that there will be fewer hotel rooms built in the city than there would be absent the special permit. So it's our expectation that there are not going to be a lot of special permit applications for hotels. Of the 42,000 rooms that are closed, it is estimated that as much as a quarter of those rooms will never reopen again as hotels. So the real question becomes, what will happen to those properties? As Amy said, most of them are in Manhattan. And it's, I think, an expectation that they will be repurposed, probably for residential, although in some cases it may be for some type of office, but predominantly we think residential.
Okay, so in other words, just to clarify, but there will be fewer hotels constructed under this special permit is the expectation, but there is still overall an expectation of continued growth overall.
Well, the demand for visitors for transient occupancy in New York City remains very high, and many New Yorkers, earn their living not only in the hotel industry directly, but in a whole slew of ancillary things, from restaurants to Broadway to tourist attractions, to things like museums. So I think we want to be clear that tourists and visitors are very important to the city's economy. And hotels and visitors pay very substantial taxes to New York City that supports the city's government, supports schools, supports all the things that we all want the city to do. So we are trying to balance so having more control over hotels, but at the same time, we are still very supportive of visitors coming to New York City. So.
Okay, I appreciate the context. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Let me now move to Sandra Lopez.
Ms. Lopez, you could unmute yourself now.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you. Go ahead.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if I should say it in Spanish or English because I speak mostly Spanish. I mean, I speak both. But my name is Sandra Lopez. I've been living in this neighborhood for over 10 years. I have my 3 daughters, my partner, and we live in a small apartment here in Sunset Park. We pay $2,500. We try to pay. My dad and my partner are not working right now, so it's been really hard for us. I think that hotels in this neighborhood, the ones we have right now, they're not in the correct spot. I think we should, like, instead of hotels, we need schools, things that are beneficial for our community. For example, the hotel that's on 39th Street between 4th and 5th Avenue, that's not a good place to be because it's like sometimes we want on the sidewalk, it's blocked by cars. So yeah, I think for our community here in Sunset Park, we need schools because schools are too much kids in one classroom. So, I mean, I understand that hotels are beneficial for like New York City and everything, but I think we need schools, housing, things that benefit our community. I mean, honestly, if it was for me, like here, Sunset Park is a small neighborhood with a lot of Hispanic people, a lot of minorities. So honestly, I don't want hotels in this neighborhood anymore. We have plenty on 39th Street, 36th Street, and the places that they're constructing the hotels is dangerous. In some ways dangerous because sometimes we're walking by there. I have 3 kids. My baby is on a stroller. Sometimes I cannot even cross there because those cars are parking. It's like all the way in the sidewalk. So yeah, that's my point of view.
Thank you, Sandra. This is John Fontello. Sandra, can I just ask you, is your concern mostly because that the way the hotel is located on say 39th Street, that it's dangerous, that if we had more control over how the hotel met the street or that the parking wasn't on the street, would that be better? Or are you just mostly against having hotels in the district?
It's both. In some way, it's both. It's where are they located, and also because they're in school and they're like over 30 kids in one classroom. So I think it's gonna be more beneficial for our community, for the future of our kids to have schools and or housing instead of hotels. Because like I said, like I think when there's too much kids in one classroom, it's hard for them to, it's hard for the teacher to pay attention to all of them at once, and it's hard for the kids to concentrate. So I mean, if I was to have a choice between like having hotels or not, I would pick not in this neighborhood, especially. I don't know about the other ones because I don't live in other neighborhoods. But if, let's say, if they were to give me a choice, no, we are going to put a hotel, I wouldn't think it should be like around 2nd Avenue, 1st Avenue, where there's like almost no kids, no residential, there is some houses over there 1st, 2nd Avenue, but mostly here on 5th Avenue, where almost a lot of hotels, that's not a good spot. But like I said, it's both things. Like I'm against them because we need more important things like schools, but also is the where they are.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me move on now to Javier Leon.
You can unmute yourself.
Yo voy a decirlo en español, ¿está bien?
If Pat or Natasha, you want to translate? Okay, Pat, you're on mute, so you'll have to unmute.
Okay, mi nombre es Javier León.
His name is Javier León.
Gracias por dejarme hablar hoy.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
He vivido aquí en Sunset Park durante 8 años.
He's been living in Sunset Park for 8 years.
Apoyando a mi esposa e hijos.
Supporting his wife and his kids.
Necesitamos permitir que la comunidad decida qué se está construyendo en nuestro vecindario.
The community should be given the opportunity to decide what comes into the neighborhood.
No desarrolladores codiciosos.
Oh, Natasha, if you can get that one. ¿No puedes repetir lo que dijiste ahora?
No desarrolladores codiciosos.
In my mind, that means he doesn't want scrupulous developers.
Correct. That is correct, Pat. It's Cynthia.
Cerca de donde vivo, en la calle 39.
He lives on 39th Street.
Ya tenemos muchos hoteles.
We have enough hotels.
Y como no pueden llenar sus habitaciones.
And if they can't fill their rooms.
Muchos, hay como 2 hoteles que han cerrado por.
There are 2 hotels that have closed.
Porque están albergando a personas sin hogar. Se están convirtiendo en shelters.
They're converting them into homeless shelters.
Muchas personas como yo.
Many people like him.
Luchamos por pagar la renta aquí, especialmente por esta pandemia.
Rent, especially during the pandemic.
La comunidad debe tener voz y voto para decidir.
The community should have the vote to decide.
Si se construye otro hotel.
If there should be more hotels constructed.
O en su lugar.
Ajá, sigue.
Creamos viviendas accesibles, permanentes.
Okay, whoever can get that one for me, Cynthia Felix.
We need permanent housing.
Thank you.
Para que no tengamos que tener solo refugios temporarios.
So we don't have to have temporary housing.
Sino que podamos quedarnos aquí en Sunset Park.
So we can stay here in Sunset Park.
¿Es todo?
That's it. Muchísimas gracias, señor León.
Muchas gracias a ustedes.
No hay de qué.
Thank you very much, Javier. I guess, again, just to reiterate this idea of we have certain concerns in Community Board 7. And I understand, the city planning and the overall planning goals for this relative to the hotel economy. But as you have just heard, it's very difficult to hear that openly without some recognition and some ability to say we understand what the community has gone through recently, and even though many of these hotels are closed, that to have them come back seems a bit far off for us. So let me now go to Vera Reyes.
You could unmute yourself.
Vera
Reyes.
Sí, hola, buenas tardes.
Hi, Vera.
Mi nombre es Vera Reyes. Soy miembro de NYCC.
She's a member of NYCC.
Soy madre soltera de 4 hijas.
Single mother, 4 children.
Y he vivido aquí en Sunset Park.
She's lived here
13 años.
¿Por cuántos años?
13 años.
for 13 years.
Desde que vivo aquí,
Since I've been living here,
es cada vez más difícil permanecer aquí.
it's become more difficult to live here.
Solo por pagar mi renta de $1,550 cada mes
Paying her rent, $1,500 a month,
y mantener a mi familia,
and to support her family,
tengo que rentar una de mis habitaciones de mi apartamento
she has to rent one of the rooms in her apartment.
y trabajar muchas horas como empleada doméstica limpiando casas.
And she works as a home cleaner many hours.
Yo pienso que en lugar de más hoteles como los que intentaron construir en Industria City,
Repita eso otra vez, señora.
yo pienso que en el lugar de más hoteles como los que empiezan a construir en Industria City,
Sigue.
debemos permitir que los residentes locales tengamos voz en lo que se necesita en nuestro vecindario.
Okay. Instead of building hotels like the ones near Industry City, we should be making more housing.
Debemos ser parte del proceso para decidir
We should be part of the process to make the decisions.
si los terrenos deben destinarse a hoteles.
Cynthia, you got this one?
¿Lo puedes repetir, señora?
Debemos de ser parte del proceso para decidir si los terrenos deben destinarse a los hoteles, viviendas o asequibles, centros comunitarios o cosas que sean deseosas de la comunidad.
Okay, so the neighborhood and the residents should be the ones that decide how is the land going to be used? Will it be used commercial? Would it be used for community? Would it be used for hotel? They need to have a voice in what the purpose of the land.
¿Quiere decir más, señora?
No debemos dejar que los desarrolladores decidan por nosotros.
We shouldn't let them decide for us what needs to be done.
Por eso que insisto a la Junta de la Comunidad a que apoye la propuesta de permiso especial de hoteles para dar voz a nuestra comunidad. Gracias.
No hay de qué, señora. You're muted, John. You're muted.
Sorry, let's go to Guadalupe Amador.
You can unmute yourself.
Guadalupe, ¿puede hablar? Guadalupe no se oye, tiene que ponerle el micrófono.
¿Me escucha?
Ahora sí, señora.
Oh, ok. Hola, buenas tardes. Gracias a la Junta de la Comunidad por dejarme hablar.
Thank you to the community board for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Mi nombre es Guadalupe Amador.
Her name is Guadalupe Amador.
He vivido en Sunset Park durante casi 20 años.
Well, she's lived in Sunset Park for almost 20 years.
Creando a mi familia y construyendo mi vida aquí.
Raising her family here in the community.
Incluso mi hermana también vive aquí en el vecindario.
And her sister also lives in the community.
Nos encanta Sunset Park.
They love Sunset Park.
Pero las rentas han subido demasiado.
But the rents are outrageous.
Cada vez es más difícil difícil para nosotros vivir aquí en Sunset Park.
Every day it gets harder to live in Sunset Park.
Mi esposo trabaja en una empresa de plásticos.
Her husband works in an industry, plastic industries.
Yo trabajo en un restaurante.
And she works in a restaurant.
Con mucho trabajo nos cuesta pagar el alquiler de la renta.
Repita eso, por favor.
Con mucho trabajo nos cuesta pagar la renta.
With all this work, they have to pay their rent.
No necesitamos más hoteles en Sunset Park.
We
Ya
don't need
tenemos,
more hotels in Sunset Park. We have enough.
necesitamos lugares y rentas accesibles para poder vivir en Sunset Park.
We need more housing and affordable to everyone.
Sobre todo necesitamos también rentas accesibles porque las rentas han subido demasiado.
And most especially, her concern is the rent, you know, that we have rents that are affordable to everyone.
Esperamos que escuche nuestra voz
We hope that you listen to our voice.
y nuestra voz cuente, porque yo tengo un hijo de 16
Our
años
opinion counts. She has a son who's 16.
viviendo en Sunset Park. So, él no quiere vivir en otro lado. Él
Her
nació en
son
Sunset
doesn't want
Park.
to live anywhere else. He was born in Sunset Park and raised in Sunset Park.
Solo queremos que por favor apoyen nuestra propuesta.
Please support her request and the community's request.
Eso es todo lo que tengo que decir. Y
That is all she has to say. Muchísimas
espero-
gracias.
Gracias.
John, you muted?
I'm sorry. I do want to fit in Emmett Mendoza Gaspar, but Mr. Gaspar, we are running a little long. We have one other item that we have to get to tonight. So if you could keep your, gotcha, Pat. If you can keep your comments brief, I'd appreciate it.
No worries. I'll keep it really short. Basically, just wanted to ask a question regarding the special permit for hotels. In the areas in the map that was recently shared by the member of the CPC, where that was colored in pink, under my understanding, at the moment, hotels are not permitted to be built in those spaces that were highlighted in pink, or are they already permitted to be built in those spaces? And is the purpose of this permit to constrict the already allowed use to be more scrutinized? Is that what this permit is about? Or can, if this special permit was never created or passed, like, will hotels still be able to be built on those highlighted spaces?
Yeah, so for the pink spaces, those are areas that currently don't allow hotels, and with the special permit, they will be allowed by special permit. And so the special permit does involve an additional process of review. So the special permit is a ULURP action, and so it goes through the full public review process. Whereas before, seeing all these gray areas, hotels could site there without any sort of discretionary review. So it's sort of a little bit of both, right? It's more restrictive in some ways because there is a review that's necessary and the community will need to provide input. But at the same time, it sort of expands the area of where hotels could seek that special permit.
I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's not correct.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The areas that are shown in red on the map today, and if this proposal does not go forward, hotels can be built as of right, which means that if someone wants to build a hotel, they file a plan with the Department of Buildings. Department of Buildings checks it to make sure it meets zoning code, building code, fire code. They get a permit, they build a hotel. If the proposal goes forward, then the areas in red, if someone wants to build a hotel, they will have to apply to city planning. City planning will do environmental review. It will then come to the community board, borough president, city planning commission, and ultimately potentially the city council, who will make a determination about whether the project is appropriate or not. The areas that are shown in gray today, which are not being affected by what's before the community board tonight, those areas, if someone wants to build a hotel today, they are subject to this special permit process. So if you're in the gray area and you want to build a hotel, you would have to come to city planning, explain your projects, do environmental review, in which case it would be sent to the Community Board 7, it would be sent to the borough president, the city planning commission, and if it deemed appropriate, the city council. And assuming they approved it, they then would go through this process of going to the Department of Buildings, filing a plan with the Department of Buildings, getting a permit and building the hotel. All of that, in terms of some of the discussions that people were saying before, what I want to say is I think we believe that certainly in a place like Community Board 7, we would not expect to see many hotel applications for special permit. We're not expecting a lot of applications if this proposal is adopted by the city council. Hope that's clear.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Barry.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Emmett. Pat, let me go back to you, and then we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. I mean, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Pre-COVID, all these hotels in Sunset Park that didn't do well became homeless shelters. Why would we want to have more hotels in the community when, and other people have said this, what we are lacking is housing for seniors, housing for families. Why more hotels? There are other places in the city, beautiful, that these hotels can go. Like I said, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but it just doesn't make sense to me, knowing the shortage of housing that we have now, to be even looking at these special permits to build a hotel. This is ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, so I'm going to close this portion of the meeting regarding the hotel special permit. And actually, what I'm going to do on as sort of chair's prerogative is I'm going to hold over the vote for the full board after the presentation at the next board meeting. And that way we can just get everybody on record and we can have a full vote on it as well. If that's okay with the committee. All right, great. Amy, Barry, Anthony, who am I missing? Alex, thank you so much for coming tonight. Appreciate very much your time and your explanations. And we hope to hear from you guys again in short order.
Thank
you for having us.
All right. Take care.
If there are any questions, please send them to me. I will forward them to Barry.
Thanks, Amy.
Well, she handed it off to you earlier, so he's getting back at you now. All right, Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item tonight is a project on 51st Street. Sandra, I apologize. You took a bit longer than we thought to get to you, but at least it's not going to be a 3-hour meeting. I hope that's okay with you. So yeah. If you could describe the proposal. Now, again, for the committee, this is a proposal that came to us from Sandra Hicks a couple weeks ago. Cesar and I spoke about it with Jeremy, and we thought in terms of issues of transparency and being upfront with any development proposal that's coming into the district, that we'd bring him directly in front of the land use committee at the earliest possible date. So this is that meeting. So I know nothing about the project, so I'm with everybody else waiting to hear exactly what Mr. Hicks is going to propose. So Sandra, I'll give you the floor.
Okay, thank you, John, and thank you, Community Board 7 Land Use. It's good to be here. I've been to, just as an attendee, I've protested and spoken out against the industry city rezoning. So I'm on the side of a lot of people in the community about being against rezonings for luxury hotels. And I thought Emmett's question was very good too. Trying to see what the city is planning, what the city is really planning with the City Planning Commission. But anyway, I am an affordable housing researcher. I've written about affordable housing locally here for the Red Hook Star Review. I'm active in political organizations that are progressive in the community. I'm active with local political campaigns. And I've just noticed that affordable housing is pretty universal. Like when you're canvassing for a candidate, it's the issue that really connects to people the quickest. There's some really physical need for affordable housing in our community and in the city as a whole. And the city's institutional procedural programs are inadequate. And that, I think, is putting it lightly. And I think a lot of people will agree. So I've been trying to research and find, just as a writer, as a researcher, as an activist, what are alternatives to. And I'm also, in my day job, I've created a day job for myself doing craft carpentry with my company, Zen Space Makers Incorporated. We're actually here on 35th Street. I live on 61st Street, so I got a short commute from one end of the neighborhood up to 35th Street, where I have a wood shop. So I also have a friend. His name is Les. We've been friends for 15 years, and he bought a building at 369 51st Street way back, probably about 15 or 20 years ago. He didn't pay a lot for it, but he's older than me. He's ready to retire and take care of his dad more in Connecticut. He wants to sell his building. He wants to sell it for 1.7 million, which is a little higher than the market might give him, or some people say that's actually kind of low. So to make a long story short, he wanted to sell it not just to somebody who's going to do condos. He wanted to sell it to somebody who would do something kind of unusual with it. We had a lot in common. He's also a political activist. I met him first at St. Mark's Church in the Bowery in the East Village. We've got a lot in common in terms of spiritual and political common values. So this is kind of, it's a great thing that I know him, because I want to buy his building, and I'm going to buy his building. I've got this plan to do it with my company and to raise the money to do it. And I've been thinking about the ways to produce the most affordable housing that we could out of this arrangement. There's a new experimental form of affordable housing called co-living, in which you take, instead of giving each apartment its own living room and its own kitchen, there's a layout where you have privacy and you have large bedrooms, but you have a shared bathroom. So 2 bedrooms share 1 bathroom. And, or maybe don't call them bedrooms, call them living spaces, because they're large rooms. So you have these large private rooms, but there are certain shared amenities. So you have a large living room that's shared amongst 6 private rooms per floor. And you have a large shared kitchen. So if this is the kind of thing you're into, this would create more of a communal sense of community where you live. And there's a company called Common, and they've really run with this whole concept, and they do co-living. And part of the attractiveness of it is that they are beating market prices. They're able to offer below market prices for rentals. They're not really calling it affordable housing, but it is a form of affordable housing. So I'm not just trying to steal their idea. I actually think it'd be really cool if we at 369 51st Street did 5 floors of co-living affordable housing, but also had kind of a spirit of volunteerism, a spirit of community give back, a spirit of community engagement along interfaith, spiritual or political lines. And then my idea is to, so the zoning allows for us to build up. The existing structure is 3 stories. We can go up another 3 stories. So we can do concrete piers in the sub-basement level, put in columns, create all the support we need to do steel framing, to add 3 additional floors to the existing structure at 369 51st Street. So we're keeping fundamentally that structure. We're evening out the face of it. I can show, if you want to see or screen share later, I can show you a whole presentation which has an image of the building. We have a 3D rendering ready to go. But fundamentally, the building that's there is staying there. We're just adding to it. We're adding 3 floors above, and we're adding to the back. We know what the zoning is. It's R7A with a C2, C4 commercial overlay. Now, the city has an incentive that I guess the city planning powers that be would like to see more commercial storefronts. And I know from the book of Jane Jacobson, The Death and Life of Great American Cities, which is a city, kind of a classic of city planning. I know having eyeballs on the street and having open storefronts, having storefronts that are open on the street is good for the community. It's, you know, just community awareness, reduces crime, reduces the need for police. So, so the city has this incentive that if one was to take this site, this property, and not do residential housing at the ground floor level, but do a storefront and build through the entire lot. So we would have a 2,000 square foot retail space. Then the city says you're then given more square footage for the floors above. So we can build all the way out to 80 feet in the lot. The lot is 20 by 100. So the floors 2 through 5 in this building could be built out to 80 feet long. I know this is probably a little bit too technical, so I'll just get to the really good stuff. Here's the good stuff. Part of what really excites me is the idea of doing social impact businesses at the ground floor retail level. If you know my background, and you probably don't, but my background is I ran a really cool union, pro-union fair trade coffee house over in Ditmas Park. Started it about 15 or 16 years ago. And it was legendary at the time. It's not there anymore, unfortunately, but we had all fair trade coffee, living wages for the workers. We had lots of live events, political education. We sold books and coffee, and it was great. So my idea at 369 51st Street, being a resident, you know, living 10 blocks away from this site, I feel like there's not enough places to get really good, healthy food. You know, our grocery stores in South Sunset Park are kind of super corporate. You know, I'm a member of the Park Slope Food Co-op, but I'm not such a foodie that I'm like gonna stand around 3 hours in the pandemic and wait for the Park Slope Food Co-op had a 3-hour wait. And these people were like, these like hipsters were like angry, like, you know, grumbling, and it's like, yeah, I had to wait 3 hours. And I'm like, no way, that's not me. So the Park Slope Food Co-op is great, but I'm not a super nut about it. But I miss going to the Park Slope Food Co-op, and I think it'd be great if we had something like that here. So part of the proposal is to incubate or develop a worker cooperative that is also a consumer cooperative. So when it comes to cooperatives, they're great. They're a great blend of socialism and capitalism. You know, and I know the city council has actually invested like $3 million. There's like a $3 million budget to help the city develop more cooperatives. You know, I know Rodrigo Camarena was really a big supporter of that. And Alexa is down for that too. So I'm friendly with both of them. So at our 2,000 square foot retail space, the plan is to incubate a food co-op. And maybe we'll have a coffee house in the back for live events. You know, so there could be the idea here is to not just have a business at the ground floor, but to have something that actually incubates social change, that incubates community awareness, that helps fight gentrification, that helps fight corporate America coming into Sunset Park and, you know, and running roughshod over the people, because that's what will happen if we don't have more progressive action. And I know there's a lot of talk about gentrification. And believe me, when I ran my coffee house in Ditmas Park, there was people that even accused me of being a gentrifier. And I can see that point of view. But I was always trying to say, no, I'm trying to like actually have all boats in the harbor rise at once. So, so anyway, I think that's just about it for me. I do have a PDF of a proposal that shows everything. It shows our numbers. We need to raise about 4.7 million to pull this off, and we're going to do it. We've hired a company called True Crowd, and they are a licensed broker with the SEC. There's actually a new regulation called Regulation CF. What CF stands for crowdfunding. So it used to be you're limited to only raise $1 million for a real estate investment through crowdfunding, but now there's a new regulation the SEC has approved. We can raise up to 5 million. So we're going to raise it in a couple of different levels. We're going to raise the money first to buy the building from Les, and then raise the rest to build with it. I'm talking to a local builder, Ray Acevedo. I'm also friendly with INS Construction, and I've worked with them on other projects with my company. So we're talking to a couple of people who can help do the steel framing. My company is going to build a lot of it personally. And yeah, we're licensed contractors, and we've been around since 2013. So what do you think? Did I cover all the basics?
I think you pretty much did, Sander. If you don't mind, we've got some questions from board members. Can I have them pose their thoughts?
Love to.
All right. Let me go first with Pat, then John, then Nick. So Pat, you first.
Hi. First of all, I know that block very well, 51st Street. I'm taken aback with the fact that you're saying there are not any good stores. The grocery stores in the community are family run. Maybe it's not to your liking, but that's what they are. I would love to see your images before I can make a final determination, but so far, sir, I think you've been a little bit disrespectful, and that's my opinion. And thank you.
Well, I apologize. I didn't really mean to insult the existing family stores. I'll tell you this. I live on 61st and 6th, and I had one big grocery store within walking distance, and it just closed. And I felt that as a personal impact on my life, because there are certain things you can only get at a larger grocery store that you can't get at a bodega.
So open a supermarket, sir, instead of what you're trying to do. Be the first to open a supermarket in that area so people can get the healthy food that they need that you say that you're not getting.
Can I finish? I think you're being a little bit impolite.
Quite all right,
really
sir. Thank you.
Sander, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I'm talking about the store. It's right around the corner from the Basilica of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and it really had an impact on me when it closed. And to really have a conversation about this, I would need to know more. I would like to de-escalate the energy right now, and I would like to have a dialogue with that person, maybe via email. That person who just spoke seems kind of angry, and I really not here to make anybody angry.
Sander, let me stop you right there. Pat is a very long time board member. She is the vice chair, second vice chair of the board. So
yeah,
I Pat, I don't think, Pat, if you don't mind, if I just say, I think this is as I said earlier, this is a chance for us to really have you speak about your proposed project. There's a variety of different diversity of opinions on the board, but we wanted to give you a first chance to get your thoughts out. And you'll hear, we tell it straight. We'll tell you positive and negative.
Sure.
But if you don't mind, let me keep going and get Joan and Nick here in as well.
Let me just say this though, that the food co-op idea is just one possibility at the ground floor. That's not really the heart of the proposal. The heart of the proposal is really how can we create, I don't think there's any kind of affordable housing co-living project in Sunset Park. And I think that's probably should be the focus of the Q&A, maybe.
No, I think that's a good point. All right, Joan, why don't we go to your question?
Santa, you said that you have the rendering. Do you have it to put up so we can all see what exactly you're proposing? Because you're kind of confusing. You say that you're going to do this, and then on the other hand, you twist it around and you say that you're thinking of it, or maybe you're going to do it. So which is it? Do you have the proposal? Do you have the rendering that you could put up and show everybody exactly what your plan is, what you want to do, and when you're going to do it?
Sure. I have the PDF.
No, tonight. Tonight, I'm asking you to show us the rendering.
I don't have the ability to chat.
No. Time out, I'm speaking. I have the floor now. You said that we could listen to the recording. You said that you have the rendering. I want to see the rendering tonight.
Okay. Well, Jeremy could forward it to you.
Sandra, if
No, tonight.
No, I think we're going to try to get it on.
Work.
I guess you don't have it.
Hang on, Sandra, can you?
Okay, I'm done.
Sandra, if I allow you to share your screen, could you show it?
Sure.
Okay, let me allow that.
Hold on, Joan. It's going to take me a minute, but I'm going to pull it up. All right. Now I'm the co-host.
Be able to do it now.
All right. Now hold on a second, everybody. Let me see if I can.
That's the way a presentation is conducted in Community Board 7.
Joan,
I know, Joan. Joan, I worked really hard today on making this presentation.
That's
I
my
have it.
opinion.
Joan, I hear you. It's as a chair, I should have asked them to do it earlier. I was hoping really to get into more of a discussion before we got
John,
to the.
don't put this on yourself, please. Thank you.
I hear you.
Don't put
if we
yourself.
have the image or the presentation, why don't we go ahead and do that? Sandra, can you share your screen?
Yep, I'm working on that right now. Hold on one second.
Or is it something that you want to send to Jeremy and see if we can do it here at the board?
I did send a copy to Jeremy. Jeremy does have it.
When did you send that, Sandra?
Well, about 5 o'clock. So it was a little bit.
Okay. So let me look at my email.
Okay.
Perhaps could we hear Nick's question while we're waiting?
1 second, Bev. Jeremy, are we a minute out?
Hang on. I need to look.
Right.
I have 2 different email accounts. Wasn't in the first. Sandra, I don't see that. Did you send that to the J. Laufer account or the BK07 account?
Let me see.
Or you can resend it right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna look, but I did not see anything around 5.
Which account do you want me to send it to?
Send it to BK07.
Not jlaufer at cb.nyc. All right,
BK07 at.
Gotcha.
BK07.
Thank you, Natasha.
Yeah, got it. I got it.
Natasha, I am going to make you host now because when I share my screen, I am not going to be able to take care of the hosting duties.
Okay.
So you are a host now, and I think you're going to have to make me a co-host. John, while I get this ready, maybe you want to go to the other questions?
All right, John, I'm going to jump to Nick and then we'll come back to the presentation. So go ahead, Nick.
I have a couple of questions and a couple of statements. First, I understand that there was some pandering to individual board members that was done for this particular application, as with every developer, which generally speaking is highly frowned upon and should not be undergone by anybody, regardless of who it is. Industry City did it, 737 did it, and even in this application, this was done. So that is completely unacceptable, which we have stated as such in every single one of these meetings. Specifically in your co-living idea, this sounds awfully like SRO, because that's really what this is describing, where you have a common living space and individual bedrooms which are rented. Now, Sunset Park does not need any more SROs. What Sunset Park really needs is family living and family style apartments and larger apartments for families to live in. So as far as I can tell from a lot of these co-living type developers, which I've actually done work for in Manhattan via WeWork and various others, those are typically geared towards millennials, higher wealth individuals to rent the spaces and to live in a community style. Now, the highest profile example of this was actually done by WeWork, which is We Live, and there are a number of documentaries on how that turned out. Which was not particularly good for the people involved or the building owner or anybody else. So I would really strongly suggest that you really look into that particular business model, along with the particular impacts to the individuals that live there prior to proceeding with this. Thirdly, based on what you've described, the building in its size and massing would be significantly out of character with the existing building that currently stands there. I don't believe that you'd be permitted to get to the height that you want to get to, despite the fact that the building is zoned R7. Furthermore, based on the total lot area of 2,000 square feet, and even if you tried to get the community facility bonus, you're still looking at a max out of, pretty much a 4 FAR, which would be about 8,000 square feet. So even if you divided that up into the correct number of apartments, I still think you're going to have a different income problem on the property, where the rents that you're going to want to charge in terms of AMIs are going to far exceed what some of the other affordable housing developers in the neighborhood have been able to achieve, such as the library or those advertised at 737. And this is not meant to discourage you, because I fully hope that you continue this, but not in the particular way that you are doing so, because the neighborhood does desperately need affordable housing and does desperately want it. However, if there's a project which does not appear to be going down the way that could produce this form of housing in a way where the building could be maintained or, really given to the people that really desperately need this type of housing, then, it's really no better than some of the other projects that have been pushed forth, which maybe won't pass muster in their affordability goals or even their sustainability goals. So I would really want to look much more deeply into that based on that. And I guess, Sandra, if you'd like to comment, please do. But that is my analysis based on your description of the project.
Right. Well, I urge you to just look a little deeper, calm your mind, and take a look at the actual facts, because we have spent 6 months researching this. We've been in touch with the city. We don't spout off opinions, we do the research. And we know we've got I worked with Kevin Tang and Jim Resha, 2 real estate experts. Kevin Tang, I know from the Quakers, and he is an affordable housing. I don't know. I know some people don't like the word activist, but he's been an affordable housing activist that is now, I think, going back to grad school to be going to Columbia for architecture and real estate program there. But he interfaced with the city planning and city zoning. So we know we've got the right to build up to 65 feet and to go 80 feet back. This is a unique lot. It's right near the corner. It's not on the corner, but it's right off the corner. In terms of being accused of pandering to board members, you and I, Nick, are on the county committee, Kings County Democrats. I wasn't aware that there was some sort of preclusion of pandering. I hate to think that I was pandering. I deliberately reached out to all of the people that I feel are socially active and smart and care about social change, and I invited them to come to a public hearing. I didn't ask for support for anything. And you know what, Nick? And I'm not actually asking for approval. We have the right, as of right, to build up. If we can't get, I think maybe I missed something in my presentation. The only thing that would preclude us from doing 5 floors of affordable co-living, which has nothing to do with WeWork, by the way, and I kind of think you're off base there with that comparison. I know WeWork, I know that company pretty well, but if we wanted to do 5 floors of affordable co-living, communal living, the only thing that would preclude us from doing that is the Department of Buildings requirement that every bedroom have a window. So we recently redid the floor plan so that the 2 windows at the front are used for bedrooms and the 2 windows at the back are used for bedrooms. But we're trying to do 6 bedrooms or 6 private rooms per floor. So we might need a variance. That was my original intent in reaching out to Community Board 7, is thinking like, you know, is there a way to get community support and maybe ask DOB for a variance if the community felt this was a good idea. But in terms of the zoning, this is not an application for rezoning. And so that is not the request. Did I address some of your concerns?
Some, but ostensibly what you're basically pushing for is SROs, because that's really what this is.
No, I am not. SROs have a negative connotation from the past.
From a building department
no,
standpoint.
it's unfair. It's unfair.
From a building department standpoint, this is an SRO, essentially. This is how it would be viewed in terms of DOB approvals and etc.
You know what? If you decided to take the most negative approach, you would say these are SROs, because that instantly triggers a reaction in people. But if you were, in my point of view, and just try on for a second my point of view. There is research in Seattle. There's actual programs in Seattle and New York in which the city, realizes people are desperate for affordable housing, and there are these new shared amenity, communal living situations. And I would like to think that there could be that these things could be used. I think in SROs, you don't have shared living space, shared TV room, shared ping pong table, shared kitchen, people eating together, people urged to get out of ego and selfish consciousness and commune together. Post-pandemic, this could really work. I mean, obviously during the pandemic, it's not going to work so much, but post-pandemic, this could really work. It actually urges people to not be siloed.
So just as a question then, I mean, what is your target demographic then? Because if you're talking about putting ping pong tables in the middle of a living room, I mean.
Okay. Right. I see how the ping pong table could also trigger you to think that about WeWork or millennials. But when you said millennials, I was like, my reaction was, you're right if that's what you choose to believe. But I would like to try to make this as inviting and as universal as possible. I know I've got my own bias and my own point of view. I don't want this to be marketed or targeted for a white hipster element that most people in Sunset Park would think of as invasive.
Where we're going with this is that through the numerous applications that we've had to review from various developers, most of the community feedback has been for larger style apartments and larger living arrangements.
I hear that.
Because you have large families in this neighborhood. And
I know,
it's that's really where the line of questioning is. And look, Sandra, like, I don't hold anything against you. I'm just really questioning this very strongly because it runs, counter to a lot of the discussions that have happened in this neighborhood for many years as to the affordable housing needs. And it's not that we're questioning your intent, because your intent is good, but the implementation to this, there's going to be a lot of questions. And, as you can probably see from the reception from some of the board members here, that's generally been the community attitude towards most development of any kind.
Can
Yeah.
I interrupt here for a second? And again, Sander, I think what you're seeing is Sunset Park honesty come right to the fore. And I think this is really the beginning of a discussion. You are not here for an approval. There is no project here that the committee or the board will be looking at in the near future. What I'd like to do is circle back, Nick, if it's okay, circle back to Joe's initial question, and Sander, give you a chance to go through your slide deck here and give us a sort of a narrated approach of how you see this project coming together.
Right. I wanted to say in general, before I do that, I wanted to say this is not my first rodeo. I've attended many community board hearings about Industry City. It was against the rezoning. And then also attended the hearing about 737 4th Avenue. I think I've got the address right on that. And I was actually shocked at some of the hostility. And I didn't feel that I felt like, well, I don't know if my opinion about the 4th Avenue project is really relevant, but I just wanted to say that I'm not a stranger to the passion that people put into issues of housing and land use in Sunset Park. I'm not surprised at it. I would like to think there would be some positive reception and somebody could say like, well, there's some interesting parts of this project, but we'll see. So anyway, let me
go ahead, go through your deck, and then maybe a couple of comments will show up. So let's go through the.
Who knows? All right, how do I control the deck? Can somebody scroll through it for me? Is Jeremy going to scroll it?
Yeah, Jeremy, if you are there, can you actually?
Yes, I'll scroll it to just tell me to.
But can you?
Sorry, this
Jeremy,
is actually. Hold on, Joan. This is an old version of the deck. Hold on a second. I don't think this is the right version. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. I'm really sorry.
Well, look, we're already now at 7:40. Is it something where we have to?
I believe Joan wanted to see a rendering. If there's an accurate
Yeah,
rendering.
I've got it. I've got it. Yeah.
So is it in this one?
If it is on that one, it's on page 12. Yeah, but I don't think it's on that one.
Jeremy, go to window and full screen.
Thank you.
I've got it up on my screen here.
View. Oh, okay. Well,
if Sander has it, then maybe we can make him. He could share his screen.
I'm sharing it with you right now on Google Drive. But yeah, if you can give me share potential,
So
that'd be
I
great.
have to stop sharing mine. You could share your screen.
Okay.
The green button down at the bottom. We see you now.
Yeah.
I appreciate everyone's patience. You'd think after a year we'd get this down straight, but we still have issues in trying to get the technology to work.
Technology works fine, John. I didn't have deck.
Okay.
We see your screen. You just have to put the right thing up.
All right, here we go.
Hallelujah.
This is there you go. This is a rendering I made basically in the last 24 hours. It doesn't show the context properly, but on the left side here, there is a 3-story building on the left side of this structure. But this is what's allowed from the zoning to go up to 65 feet. On the right-hand side of the building, there is an existing, some sort of abandoned commercial building. So we've done some aerial drone footage of the neighborhood. So this is some of the photographs are ones that we shot with a drone showing the views from like the top floor of this building here. So this is one of our 3D renderings here showing plans to do the co-op perhaps at the ground floor level. There's the existing building there on 51st Street. And I'll share this with anybody who wants to look at it. We talk about co-living. We talk about why it beats the market rate. We talk about co-living with sort of an activist impact. That could be volunteerism. It could be just, I saw a lot of this community react in a great way with mutual aid from Church of the Good Shepherd, in the way that Reverend Juan Carlos united people and turned his whole church into like an artery for the undocumented and the hungry in the last 14 months, and I was a part of that a little bit here and there. And so that kind of energy of like giving back to the community and uniting people, it could be a part of this. And I think it should be a part of this. So we got floor plans. Like I said, these bedrooms on the back of the building, and this bedroom on the front of the building, these bedrooms on the front of the building would have windows, but these bedrooms here would not have windows. So that is the only thing that we might need DOB to give us a variance on. But if it doesn't work, we would probably just be forced to, maybe there could be a compromise where we do a couple floors of co-living and a couple floors of condos. But if we're raising 4.7 million with, a regulation CF, then we're going to have to pay that back. So we have to figure out how we're paying that back. And we've got it all in this financial plan here at the bottom of the prospectus. There's a ton of risk factors we had to put in, but there's like 5 pages of financials. And then there's this financial, there's option B, which is basically sell condos, which I really don't want to do. I don't want to become a real estate developer that makes condos in Sunset Park. I would rather do something interesting at the ground floor level and on floors 2 through 6. I'd like to do a shared roof garden, green roof, maybe solar on the roof. We've been talking about that. So
all right,
that's it. Yeah.
All right. So Sander, you'll have this. Jeremy, you have this version, or you'll send it to Jeremy, and
this version, he needs to send it to me, and then I'll share it with you.
If you don't mind, we do have one attendee who has a question. I see you, Pat. I see you, Nick. Let me come back to you after John Santor. John?
To promote him to panelist to do that.
Okay, yes. I'll just be quick. I know that we're running short on time. So I also serve on the ADC with Sander. I had traded some emails with him before, and he emailed me this presentation. I would certainly encourage everybody to take a look. The version that he sent me is 33 pages, and I'm assuming, Sander, it's a public document. I just one factual question and then just one comment, Sander. If you could just talk about the prices I see on it seems to be slide 8 or slide 9. It says that the average co-living, on average market rate co-living usually rents across New York for $1,600. I see you have different numbers: Crown Heights for $1,300, Hamilton Heights for $1,600, and Ridgewood for $1,475. So I just want to clarify that what you're saying is the average room that would be rented in the co-living would be somewhere in that range. At least that's the current market, $1,600.
No, wait, hold it, slow down.
Yeah.
You are right. That's in our presentation. We took those numbers out of information that's publicly available from Common. So that's what Common is charging as a way to compare that favorably with market rates. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're charging. And I want to get numbers as affordable as possible to have this make sense for people. But I pay $1,600 now for a rent stabilized apartment, and it seems like a lot. So.
Right. Okay. So let me just say this. I mean, I think that I'm glad that Sandra's talking to the board, and I think I encourage people to think creatively about housing. I think we should all be thinking creatively as much as possible about housing, and I think that's great. I will say, Sandra, that my concern, and I think that this would benefit everybody, is I really think this community wants to be actively involved in designing these projects, and I think this community wants to understand the financing of these projects. I know that I'm in touch with a whole bunch of people who are extremely eager to have public conversations about financing affordable housing, figuring out where the land is, how you put it together financially. And I think that this is a conversation that would be great to have in conjunction with the housing committee of this board and really go through these financials in detail. We can't do that. I don't think we can do that now because we don't have the time, but really breaking down these financials for everybody and understanding where the profits are and where these particular profit projections come from. And I think that's what the community deserves. That's something that I would want to be a part of. So again, I applaud you for thinking creatively, and I'm glad you're here. But I think that anything we can do to facilitate a detailed public discussion of the financing behind a project like this is what we should be doing. So I hope that we can do that.
Yeah, my friend Jeremy, not Jeremy Lawford, but another friend, Jeremy, who's active in affordable housing issues, urged me to look at community land trusts. So I've been watching videos and reading about community land trusts in Vermont. They've been pretty successful, but it happens when the city has a chunk of capital and buys a property. And so far, I have yet to figure out a way to get the chunk of capital together to buy the property and get the next step. But I do have this plan in place with, anyway, I'd love to talk more. I'd invite the community to get involved, especially if you have ideas or somebody has ideas about financing, but the financing is tough.
Right. And I'm sorry, I'm going to wrap up. I'm sure it is, but I think like what Nick's earlier comment, I mean, again, yes, a project like this, again, I support creative thinking, but a project like this does not seem to cater to families, for example. And so if there's a way to find financing to support a project that does meet direct community needs that have been espoused, I think that's what people want. And I think that's what we should be having public detailed conversations about. Right. Otherwise, I think people are going to feel like the developer is putting the cart before the horse, and the developer is trying to convince the community to do something that it doesn't fully understand. That's just my opinion. I'll stop there.
No, that's a good point, because I didn't really respond to that with Nick, but from the totem hearings, I know that they changed their plan to get rid of studios and make more 1 and 2 bedrooms to listen to people. And I'm part of what I do on a daily basis is I create loft beds, and I create ways for people to not have to move from their apartments, but to get more sleeping space and living space from their existing apartments. That's why our company is called Zen Space Makers. And so in the floor plans in the recent revision, we added extra bedrooms too. And I think maybe what we're going to do to respond to your comments and Nick's comments is create the floor plan so that like there's more of a multi-bedroom unit in per floor. Maybe make one of them like a family unit per floor, and or maybe make 2 family units per floor and then other individual bedrooms.
Sanders, I want to actually just briefly lift up John's statement there about getting the community board involved, or community involved relative to the financials. I will say, even for somebody like me, it's been in the business for 30 years. I completely get bamboozled as to how difficult it is to put together a capital stack to do something like this. And all the requirements regarding the economics of putting together development, I think it would be very helpful to really talk that through. And maybe if you don't mind some of that sausage being shown around to the board, it might help better cement the difficulties you will have in trying to do this and get more of us possibly in support of your quest here. I would like to, I see you, Nick, I see you, Pat, since you've asked a question earlier, Katie Walsh has jumped in. If I could jump to her next for a question and then come back to you guys. Catherine? Are you on the phone, or do we need to make you a no, I can't hear you. Are you she's an attendee, I think.
Is she an attendee? Then I have to, that's your phone, I'm guessing. Okay, so I could allow her to talk. She could unmute herself now.
I'm sorry about that, Jeremy. Yeah, sorry, Jeremy. Sorry, John.
Being a panelist, that was confusing.
I like make things complicated. This could be for John, and I'm just trying to track the conversation, John Sander. So, am I hearing that the current zoning does allow this type of development to go up about 6 floors? Like, I think Sander, you made the point in response to someone else. You said like we can do this. We can do this anyway, and it's sort of the anyway part. That's what I'm trying to pick out. Like what is allowed on the site? Yeah, what is allowed on the site? I think is the first question, and then I might have like one other follow up if I can after that. So yep.
Well, if I just jump in there, during the rezoning in 2008, we did upzone 4th Avenue to R7A. Yes, R7A, which I believe allows the 4.6 FAR that Sander is looking to do on top of the commercial overlay, which is an additional 1 or 2 FAR for the ground level. So if he were to execute both commercial with residential on top, that would allow him to go up to that height and that density.
That is correct.
And then, so just understanding it too, Sander, from your perspective, right? Like you can do the commercial and residential, and your goal in coming today was to talk about how you might do the commercial and residential and what that could look like and get input and feedback. That was the purpose of coming today. It's not that you're saying like, I don't need a permit or variance or anything. You were just trying to get people's responses.
No, I actually, first of all, you know me, a little bit, and I do want community. We're stronger if we work together. And I'm not like the smartest guy in the world. It's better to like work with teams because you'll see points of view you didn't have before. And there's and I've only been a resident of Sunset Park for like 3 years, so there's people on this board that have have lots of wisdom. I don't have all the Sunset Park wisdom. But also, Katie, there's something else there. If I wanted to be like corporate condo guy, we could just grab this site and build the condos and make the money and make the money and run. But if we want to do 6 private rooms of shared, let's say 5 or 6 private rooms of co-living per floor, then we would need a variance from the DOB because there's a semi-archaic ventilation requirement that each bedroom in New York City must have a window. And just talking about this with Cesar, he said, well, come to the community board, talk about it. There might be a way to get a variance with that if the community board supported it. Because it's an archaic rule because we all have central air conditioning, central heat. You have ventilation without windows. You're not relying on windows anymore. And we've rearranged the floor plan so that 4 of the bedrooms per floor already will have windows. And of course, the building's going to have central air. So it's going to have plenty of ventilation. So I do need community feedback and improvement to the plan. I don't want the idea of a food co-op at the ground floor to make it sound like we're bringing the Park Slope Food Co-op to the ground floor, because that's not the kind of food co-op I would want to bring to Sunset Park. And I don't want to bring WeWork to Sunset Park. I don't want to bring a WeWork of, co-living to Sunset Park. And the ping pong table, I want to rescind my ping pong table comment because that probably was the worst thing I said today. So I don't know if you were here for that.
Actually, I'll jump in and say maybe the whole thing about the worst thing about archaic housing. You're actually referring to the old law Tenement Housing Act of I believe 1881, which required daylight and fresh air into all residential bedroom apartments. If you do have a chance to get the architecture of affordable housing in New York, it's a great history of how we got to where we are. And many people in the Lower East Side, if you go to the Tenement Museum, you'll see how important that requirement, that law was way back then. But that's neither here nor there.
Yep. I've been to the museum. I used to live in the Lower East Side. Yep.
Let me, Nick and Pat, I know I keep seeing you, but I got Amy from DCP still here, still showing up. I don't know why. You're going to be here for 2 hours, but Amy, go ahead, ask a question.
Hi, yeah, no, I'm just here to listen in. I just wanted to clarify about the FAR for R7A. It is 4.6 if there is IH involved, if there's inclusionary housing provided. If there isn't, the FAR is 4. And the C overlay wouldn't provide an additional FAR. It is just 1, but like that 1 is of the 4 or 4.5, 4.6 total. Just wanted to make sure that that's clear.
We stand corrected. Okay, so let me.
I'm not totally certain that is correct, because Kevin Tang, who I don't think is on the call, is found something. And tell me if you're looking at the same thing. I'm just going to look at Google Drive to see if I have it on Google Drive to show you. But what he cited is if the commercial space is fully built out to expand to take over the whole lot, then the floors above can be expanded out to 80 feet in the back. Let me try to find it on. I should have it. Let me try to find it on Google Drive, and we can maybe come back to this later if we can.
I think maybe as a nonprofit or a community facility, that would be that sounds like that would be the ability to add the additional.
So there are different like FAR and height regulations for heirs. So those are senior housing, and it's also senior affordable housing. If this is market rate residential buildings, the FAR is 4 or 4.6. If you're providing affordable housing, the maximum building height would be 95 feet. If you're providing affordable housing, and if you're not, it's 85, regardless of what's on the ground floor.
Wow, now you're talking about a super tall building, but we're talking about a 65-foot tall building.
I'm just describing what R7A is.
Right. No, believe me, I've been around the block on this, because at first people were saying you could go up 12 stories, like a lot of pie in the sky projections. But so yeah, I know that R7A I'm going to have to find the thing on Google Drive, because it's
come back
specific.
to us with a quick zoning analysis. That'd be great. Amy, thank you. Pat, let me come back to you.
Hi, I'm just curious. You say you live in Sunset Park for about 3 years. So I would assume, like you said, you've been to some of the hearings, etc. So you have heard people say that we need more housing. So would you consider doing homes for families versus these single room or co-living spaces? Because in my mind, it's like, who in Sunset Park would want to rent a room when the majority of folks are families? That's just a question. If you don't want to answer, that's fine, but I hope that you would give me some kind of answer. Thank you.
I'll definitely take a swipe at that. Like I said earlier to the earlier comments, I think we've got to revisit the floor plan and make the floor plan more family friendly. I have 2 kids myself. I'm a dad. I'll be honest with you. In doing this, it's not like we've got a grant, or we've got and maybe John has got some tricks up his sleeve, but I don't know. If we're going to raise 4.7 million and build, I've got to have a business plan that takes care of all those loans, and pays back that money. So it's kind of a razor's edge to walk. How can we do something that's affordable and also have it be family friendly? So even if the co-living is a new idea, I would try to just, in the aggregate, in the economic big picture, if we had this building built up and the co-living gives housing to whoever takes it, that will increase the supply and decrease the demand, and it'll have a net positive effect on prices. Prices overall will go down the more housing we develop.
And it's just like you said, whoever takes it, when we have families that need homes. But listen, all I could say is, it's thank you for your presentation, and I really hope that you or others would think about the families that need homes versus the single room or co-living, whatever you want to call it. Thanks again.
Let me say this too, as a carpenter and as a contractor who's on a daily basis helping working families stay in their apartments so they don't have to move, they don't have to get displaced. I run this website called loftbedsnyc.com, and it's kind of a niche. We're not huge luxury kitchen or luxury bathroom people. We do loft beds and lofted spaces and little staircases with drawers. And it's cool, it's a little craft business. But what it does, it helps working people get more space out of a limited New York City apartment. So I've been thinking, gosh, there's like an untapped design potential. I should really be thinking more, and I'm going to talk about this more as we develop the proposal, but talk about more about how family friendly these spaces could be. Because if we had like more loft beds and bunk beds in one of the rooms, you could have like a couple with 2 kids in one of the larger shared spaces. And they would also have access to this huge living room and this huge kitchen. Please don't be prejudiced against co-living and think it's only the domain of white hipsters, because I think that is unfair.
I am just thinking about families. That's it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about families too.
Okay, great. All right, Nick, you're going to be the last one up.
So, Sandra, hearing all of that, what I would encourage you to do is talk to whichever architect that you're speaking with, because there's a couple of issues. Those bedrooms on the sides, I don't see them ever getting approved with the Department of Buildings with a variance. Generally speaking, most of the buildings in Sunset Park do not have central air, and the central air that you're thinking of does not carry ventilation air, which would be a requirement, which is a wholly and totally separate system. And typically lot line windows are not permissible for use of satisfying light and air, as John can probably tell you better than I can.
Yeah.
So all of those things you should really look at. The last one that I really want to kind of touch on is, if you're thinking of affordable housing, you have to think about really deep cuts in AMI, 80, 60, 40% of AMI. For it to really be considered. And to kind of get the FAR bonuses, you have to go through IH, which is its own animal, specifically because they're very particular, and they're very rigid in what they require, and they usually require dedicated apartments for that FAR bonus. But coming back to the rents, just by running back of the hand numbers, you're looking at probably a mortgage of about $26,000 a month. If you're looking at a 20-year note, which is a typical piece of commercial paper for something like this, if you're not selling condo units. And so that $26,000 a month, if you're trying to get 8% for your investors, you're looking at having to have a pretty substantial rent roll. And I fully and totally agree with you. It is incredibly difficult to develop affordable housing in New York City because of land costs, construction costs, and everything else. And, as a suggestion, I would suggest reaching out to some of the affordable housing developers to see if there's other funding that you can tap into, with hopefully not too many strings attached to it, whether it be tax breaks, whether it be other incentives programs that you can do to lessen your construction costs.
We're on the same page, because I was about to say, I'm surprised nobody has suggested the Fifth Avenue Committee or somebody like that who could be a nonprofit partner, because we're not a nonprofit. We're a licensed carpentry business trying to do something bigger and better. But we would need a nonprofit partner. if somebody in this meeting wants to introduce me to Fifth Avenue Committee, that'd be great. You can contact me through loftbedsnyc.com or
I believe Michelle De La Uz has probably presented at this, not this committee and housing committee
To our
many
housing
times.
Committee on June 1st, so please feel free to join us, Sandra.
Okay, great. Please send me an email. I'll put it in my Google Calendar. But yeah, we could get a low-income housing tax credit. I know I did my research about this. It's something started in the 80s. I'm sure you know all about it, Nick, but there is a low-income housing tax credit from the federal government that you could then sell, and you sell it to a larger company, and you could make some money if you're dedicated to affordable
The main
housing.
issue is supply and demand, where the supply is far exceeded by the demand by like a factor of 100 to 1 usually, at least in New York.
Oh, really?
So
that's bad news.
It is really bad, but
I wish you would just try to like give me a little bit less bad news tonight.
I would talk to Michelle and other folks that have a business of building these on a regular basis, as they can help you navigate some of this. But I would love for this to be affordable, but just based on where the numbers are going, that's why I have my doubts on this one, and it's going to be extraordinarily challenging. Like the rents you're going to come up with are going to have to either be market or possibly even taller than market in order to make it work. Otherwise, this is probably going to shift to a condo project. And this is me speaking from experience, working in, as a mechanical engineer for many of these developers.
Right. All right, let's think. I think the solution is actually staring us in the face. We don't see it yet. It could be a hybrid condo co-living project where some of the floors could go condo to cover the costs of development. And there could be 2 floors of co-living. And if you're saying there's no way we'll get a variance to have a windowless bedroom in the middle, then that's the solution. We connect that bedroom into the other existing bedrooms, and that becomes like your
kitchen,
family,
living room, etc.
Right, the family. Those are the family units. So then it's only 4 units. It's not 6 units per floor. It's 4 units per floor. And 2 of those 4 have this whole extra living space that could be whatever space. But that way it becomes more family friendly. And we're going to have to, I was thinking we would probably have to create a solution like this where we say, okay, we can't have 5 floors of co-living, but we could have at least 2 floors of co-living and 3 floors of condos. And then we work together as a community to think about what we really want at the ground floor. Is it a food co-op? Is it not a food co-op? Is it a coffee house dedicated to Sunset Park identity and standing up to corporate America? That's what we had basically in Ditmas Park, and it was great. And it changed the community.
I guess, Sandra, what I would suggest is I would suggest talking to an architect who's primarily focuses on this type of development, as they can help you navigate all of this, because
I am having lunch with one next week, Nick.
There you go.
Yeah, because I did as a subcontractor, I met one recently, and he actually was rattling off all this hospitality jargon. He was like, he was like you, he knew a lot about the codes. And so he was like, oh, you got to have a security guy at the front if you want to be approved for the hospitality code. He knew all about co-living, and he didn't call it SRO. He knew all about what co-living was. He knew all these like new buzzwords. And so there might be a way to talk to him. His name is Mark Barak from DTS. He's not my architect, but he's a friend who's
whoever it is. What I'm just getting at is that you should really speak to them, as there's a lot of things that you're proposing in this which likely will not be permissible in what you've got, which we've both kind of openly acknowledged, and they'll kind of help you shape and everything else. I mean, John can tell you about this as well, considering he does this for a living. So it's you really kind of need to shape that first, and then you can kind of see where you can go. And then based on those preliminary discussions, you rerun your financial model to see what's feasible and what's not. And probably what you've described is probably, there might be a sweet spot for it, but again, the numbers will ultimately and unfortunately drive the discussion.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to close down this
Thank you.
This meeting. This was a great discussion. Sandra, I do hope that you do take with some grain of salt thank
you to everybody who said something. Thank you to everybody. No, it was really good. I knew it wasn't going to be an easy meeting, but it was actually really fruitful, and I think we made some progress.
All right, great. I appreciate you coming to discuss your project. We hope to see more of it in the future. And with that, thank you all for joining tonight's Land Use and Landmarks Committee meeting. And we'll talk a little bit more about this. We'll issue the notes and put a report out to the board when we meet again in a couple weeks. Thank you all for tonight, and talk to you soon.
Night.
Night, everyone.
The meeting is
Good night. Let's go Knicks.
Let's go Yankees as well.